I remember when I was down in the trenches, down in the dungeon, addicted to this stuff like crazy. I tried everything they recommended, all the tactics or the theories or the this or the that. I tried every last one of them, but they just never seemed to work. And it felt very depressing because it felt like I was drowning inside this thing every single day. And it wasn't even fun anymore. It's not like every time I did it, I felt good or I enjoyed myself. I always just felt terrible. Before I did it, I felt terrible. While I was doing it, I felt terrible. And even after, when the post-nut clarity hits, I still felt terrible. So everything, I just felt like there was basically no joy. I basically wasn't gaining anything from it, but I just kept wondering to myself, why am I still doing this? Why is it that almost every single night I'm still here doing these bad habits, beating my meat, checking myself off, and I just couldn't stop. But eventually, accidentally, funny enough, I stumbled on a mindset shift that changed everything. And immediately I had that mindset shift, it's almost like the addiction just faded away, like it just stopped. It was that crazy because I remember about a month had gone by and I was like, wow, a month has gone by and I haven't, touched myself. Like, how is that even possible? And it felt so crazy because usually when a month goes by like that, I'll use willpower, I'll use force. I'll be consciously telling myself, don't beat your meat, don't do it. And this time, obviously, to some degree, I still did that a little bit, but for most of it, I just lived my day-to-day life normally. Like, I just went about my day, I just lived normally. And a month had gone by and I didn't really feel drawn to this thing. It felt really crazy and I was really also wondering what's changed. It was then I finally realized that there was one mindset shift that changed. Something had changed in my brain that made me go from, severely addicted to all of a sudden barely doing it, not even caring about it anymore. And that mindset shift was basically now seeing myself as good enough. Prior to this, I had this crippling limiting belief that I wasn't good enough for anybody, especially women. I wasn't good enough to get girls. I wasn't good enough to have a girlfriend. No girl could ever like me. Things of that nature. And it was only looking back and reflecting that I realized that was the reason why I was so addicted to this thing. Because in my mind, I had built up this, idea or this narrative in my head that I wasn't good enough for any girl. Therefore, it felt like the only place I could get girls, the love and affection and whatever from, girls or partners or whatever was porn. That felt like the only place where I could get it from. Since I couldn't get it from girls in real life because, I wasn't good enough, I could go to Pornhub, there are millions of girls there, watch whichever one I want, whichever I like, and, basically get that same feeling. But when I destroyed that mindset, or when that mindset just changed, when it shifted in my brain, all of a sudden I realized that that's false. And if I want a girlfriend, I could get one. And girls are not these, mystical, big creatures like goddesses that they put on the pedestal. No, that they're just humans. They're just people. It was almost like my self-worth, for whatever reason, just went up. And after it went up, I just stopped being addicted. I know it sounds very easy, sounds very basic, and not everybody might have their problem like this. But trust me, this really worked. And I'm telling you from someone who actually was down bad, who was actually addicted. Many people that make videos like this, they just say it and they tell you the same stuff. And it's not like they have bad intentions, they are trying their best, but I was actually there. I know what it feels like to be there by yourself in the room, in the dark, 1 in the morning, and you're here beating your meat. And funny enough, it's not like you're enjoying it, it's not like you're having fun, it's not like you're happy. Before you start beating it, you're already sad. Many thoughts, negative thoughts in your head, looking at yourself with disgust, anger, annoyance. You start doing it, the voices just keep getting louder, and finally you bust the nuts and you just wonder why am I doing this? That process is very, very dark. That process is very dirty, and I know what it actually feels like because I was there for a very long time. And now being at the other side of not doing that anymore, and I won't pretend and say I'm perfect, that I never ever do it. Yes, once in a while I could slip up, I'm not perfect, I know that, but from doing it almost every single day to now doing it once in forever, that difference, that gap still feels very crazy to me. And I just attribute it back to this one main thing, which was just the mindset shift that happened. And the mindset shift for me was I wasn't good enough, I can't get girls. So all of a sudden, I'm good enough. If I want a girlfriend, I could get one. If I want to fuck, I can go and fuck. But obviously, someone's keeping myself, so I'm not going to fuck. You have to be careful with who you fuck, basically, because and that's another thing. Many of all these porn videos, many of the internet, the world, they glorify sex and porn and all these things, but they don't tell you that there's a lot of dark side that comes with any of these things. Stuff like STD, stuff like spiritual problems, like so many things like that. They don't tell you all those things. They just show like, oh, you know, when you fuck, you'll have a good time. But basically, in summary, that one mindset shift changed everything. So my own assignment for you is to actually sit down and assess yourself and try and identify the limiting belief you might have, because usually these things are not even the main problem. We think, you know, porn is the problem. We think the addiction is the problem and all that. These things are mostly just symptoms. The real problem is usually hiding itself, and this is just like your way of expressing the problem. So to me, the real problem was, you know, I wasn't good enough, and I thought, you know, getting girls was impossible. I couldn't ever have a girlfriend. And it's not to say like now I'm some professional child guy that can talk to any girl in the world. It's just like that mindset is just flawed. It just doesn't make sense. Like, why is it that no girl in the entire world would want me? Like, am I that? I'm not ugly. Like, I know I'm not the most handsome, but at the same time, I'm not ugly. Like, I'm not the smartest or the most charismatic. Like, I'm not a child, basically, but I'm not really, like, a very super unattractive, ugly person, and nobody in the world wants to be with me. So it's like, all of a sudden, when I had that realization, that false limiting belief was just broken. So I urge you to do the same. Go and look for that mindset. Go and look for that thing that is holding you back. Because usually, that limiting belief generates a set of actions. That limiting belief like makes you do certain things that you don't even know. They are just automatic, they're just subconscious, and you might find yourself in this loop wondering, you know, I've tried everything, just like myself. Oh, I've tried the tactics, I've tried the porn blockers, I've tried this, I've tried that, and they just never work. Like, why? I don't know about you, but for me personally, it was a limiting belief. It was a mindset stuff, and when that mindset thing changed, when the limiting belief was gone, my reality changed.